Hello everyone, Minky here with the next deck profile video. I've actually got a bit more space today because it's actually pretty bright out today. It's very sunny and there's a lot of sunlight leaking into my room, to my living room, and well, I say that, but you know, because you know, it's just a very sunny day, and I say that it's almost 6:30 in the evening. You know, so it's a pretty I mean, it's the 19th of May today. It's a Sunday, but I'm recording this today because I need to get the next deck profile out. I haven't edited last week's party yet, but it is the first one that is with music. So, and this will be the second one with music. So hopefully, I'm trying to start using music a bit more and, you know, kind of jazz up my deck profiles and such a bit more, and other videos and such. So hopefully, that is something good going forward, if you will, and whatnot. So you know. Anyway, let's get on with the deck profile, shall we? Alright, so this first card is Hieratic Dragon of Azar. This card, this is one of the boss monsters. I've got two in this deck. This first one says you can special summon this card from your hand by banishing a light dragon type monster from and a dragon type normal monster from your graveyard. So obviously it's very good for Hieratics because they deal with a lot of light dragons and normal dragons. If this physical on the field would be destroyed, you can tribute one face of Hieratic monster instead, except this card. So you can tribute over Hieratics and, you know, get their tributes effects off instead of getting this card destroyed. So it's a pretty nice, it's got a nice little protection and works with the deck. So, you know, it's pretty nice in that regard. And the other boss monster is Hieratic Dragon of Tefnuit. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it's basically like Cyber Dragon. This card cannot attack the turn it is special summoned this way, so it's worse Cyber Dragon, but there's a there's got another reason because it's part of an archetype. So it's a different part of an archetype, but you know what I mean. It's got like nice tribute effects, so it's not like you know. Anyway, let's go on. When this card is distributed, special summon. Well, it's just a normal Hieratic effect. So in a way, it's sort of like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess, in the sense that you can't attack with him. He's got the same attack as Cyber Dragon. I think a bit more defense. I can't remember how Cyber Dragon's effect, defense even. But obviously you can't attack with him, but you can tribute him. So you know, you can even tribute. So some of the Hieratics that require to be tributed are level 5 anyway. So you could even just tribute summon one of them anyway. So you know, flat out. Alright, the first normal monster. Obviously, this is obviously going to be filled with normal monsters as well as is 2 copies of Alexandrite Dragon, a light dragon type monster with 2000 attack and 100 defense, and one of them is also nice little rarity right there. So I definitely need to get sleeves for this deck. Yeah, I'll get into that in next week's episode actually, about what I plan to do in the future with deck profiles. But you know, next up, I don't think anyone would predict this. It is 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon, all very nice rarities, and this card needs no introduction. So there you go. I obviously have the 2 copies of the Stone Tablet in the background, and 1 copy of the what I call the Minky version. I only call it the Minky version because that's the copy I got all the time, which is that middle version, that middle one. Obviously, I don't know what nicknames I'd give all of them, but I know that I've got a few the odd nickname. Like there's the Sato version, which is obviously, you know, I know I have a few ideas for Dark Magician as well, because you know, but that's neither here nor there. Obviously, you know what I mean with it, stuff like that. And finally, the final non-monster is also a limited edition card, so I kind of feel bad for putting this card in the deck, but I'm going to get sleeves anyway, so no worries. Is Galaxy Serpent. So I definitely need to get a sleeve for this. It's actually kind of wondrous in a way, as wondrous as what Galaxy Serpent looks, in the sense that all these cards survived the way they did. Because I don't think I did that good of a job protecting all my stuff. Like, didn't do a horrible job, but I don't think I did that good a job protecting them, and yet, you know, all my cards are kind of, for the most part, pretty fine. You know, especially the fact that this is sleeveless, you know, and you'd expect it to see a bit more wear and tear, but no, it's actually pretty nice. So it's in pretty decent condition. That's what I mean. It's like, it's not in terrible condition, if you will. Maybe not grade 10 or whatever, but you know, probably at least a 6, I would guess, if anything. I don't know the grading scale too well though, so I can't really think or compare or anything. So I don't know. Maybe I can get a comment on that and see what people think. But you know, all right, time for the effect monsters. So the first one is quite the oddball one. I wouldn't blame you for not predicting this card. Is Xyz, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord. So this card cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by shuffling all monsters in your graveyard into the deck, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. When this card declares an attack, send one monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. This card gains 1 valid attack for each normal monster in your graveyard. If this face-up card would leave the field, banish it instead. If there are 5 different Forbidden One cards in your graveyard that were sent there by this card's effect, you win the duel. So obviously that last effect is kind of mute. It's moot because it's not. This isn't anything to do with Xyz. But obviously there's a lot of like Dragon type normal monsters, so obviously, you know, I can utilize them and help mill them out into the graveyard. Or when I say help mill them out, I can mill them, and it's like not milling them at all, if you will, because obviously the Hieratic effect specials from the deck or graveyard, so therefore it's just good like that, if you will. Obviously it only gains attack from all the normal monsters while they're in the graveyard, but you can obviously special them more from the graveyard, tribute them or Xyz them or Synchro or whatever, and then you can attack with this guy. Sure, you might have to mill an effect monster instead, but you still got all that attack. So the attack boost isn't from normal monsters you mill, it's just from normal monsters in the graveyard. Doesn't matter how they get there. The Xyz effect though has to be milled from this one copy. You can't have 3 copies of this card and win in 2 turns like that. It has to be from the one copy, unfortunately. So, but obviously Xyz isn't really a worry in that regard. It's just a matter of like, but obviously he kind of has no cost as well. But at the same time, he obviously retrieves all your effect monsters as well. So it's pretty nice in a way for this deck. Now I say I took limited edition cards out before, which is weird because I missed out on Galaxy's Open, and I kind of regret that a little bit now because this next card, which is Xyz Cloud Dragon. This card is obviously a Xyz Photon Dragon support card. Its effect is you contribute this card, special one Xyz monster from your hand or graveyard except another copy of this card. You can only use the effect of this card once per turn. If this card is in the graveyard, you can target one Xyz Xyz monster you control, equip this card to it as a material. You can only use the effect of this card once per duel. So you can only attach it to a Xyz Xyz monster once per duel. But it's obviously an attached effect, so it's pretty nice. Now I had a Xyz Photon Dragon in this deck, but it was limited edition, so I thought let's take it out and put it in one of the boxes. But obviously, you know, so I definitely need to get that sleeved up and then see about maybe making. I don't need to get a bunch of these cards sleeved up, but especially this one anyway, because this one's kind of shiny anyway. But you know, but yeah, Xyz is in here, kinda, not really, but you know. Next up we have Golden Dragon Summoner. You can tribute one monster, then target one monster on the field and return it to the hand. You can only use the effect of this card once per turn. So obviously if you control 3 copies of this card, it's not going to do you any good. You can't get multiple effects. But he tributes a monster of yours to bounce, I think just your opponents? No, tribute one monster, return, it does any monster on the field. But it tributes your monster in order to bounce a monster on the field. So obviously it's really nice to you know, get Hieratics tributed and whatnot. So you know, that's a nice little card right there. Next up we have Heliosphere Dragon. When your opponent has 4 or less cards in their hand, and this card is the only monster you control, your opponent cannot declare an attack. Once per turn, if you control a level 8 Dragon type monster, you can make this card become level 8 until the end phase. So that's really more so useful for the latter effect of making it itself level 8. And you'll see why as we go throughout the deck, so, you know. Alright, next we have 2 copies of Hieratic Dragon of Esset. You can almost summon this card without tributing, but its original attack becomes 1900. Once per turn, you can target one face-up Dragon type monster on the field, which can be your opponent's normal Dragon type monster, by the way. Levels of all face-up Hieratic monsters on the field, including your opponent, become the level of the targeted monster of that monster until the end phase, and it has a normal Hieratic effect. Yeah, I'm not got the best lighting, so maybe I should have had the lighting up, but I guess it is what it is. And it actually looks lighter in the video than it does in the in real life. Anyway, next up is Hieratic Dragon of Gebeb, only the 1 copy, and level 4 as well. When this card destroys the opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, special summon a Dragon type non-monster from the hand, deck, or graveyard that makes attack 0. Defense 0. So it's basically the Hieratic effect, except instead of tributing, you have to attack with this card. Or you have to destroy an opponent's monster by battle and send it to the graveyard. Which does count. I think it does count if your opponent swings into this and their monster dies to it. So I'm pretty sure that counts. And it's not once per turn either, by the way, so if you can get this guy to attack twice and destroy 2 monsters, you get 2 specimens. And then, the other effect is, when this card is tributed, special summon a Hieratic normal monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So, it's special to any Hieratic normal monster, but it doesn't make their attack and defense 0. But, I think the only Hieratic monster that is a normal monster has 0 attack and defense anyway. Actually, I should say 2 monsters, because there's a Gemini. Yeah, I think there's 2, because there is a Gemini, and while in the graveyard, I think they're treated as Hieratic. I'm not sure while in the hand, but I'm pretty sure in the graveyard they count as a normal monster. But they have 0 attack and defense as well anyway, so it's like, it's kind of no different, if you will, in that sense. Alright, next up we have 3 copies of Hieratic Dragon of Netvet. This card's unique effect is you can special summon this card from the hand by tributing a Hieratic. The actual unique effect is, once per turn you can tribute a Hieratic monster, except this card, from your hand or your side of the field, to target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So it's basically the Wind Dragon of Wrath effect, except much better, and actually supports the deck in a way, if you will, rather than just being anti-supportive of itself, if you will. You know, and then it has obviously the general Hieratic effect. Next up is Hieratic Dragon of Su. You can special summon this card by tributing a Hieratic monster. Once per turn, you can tribute 1 Hieratic monster, except this card, from your hand or your side of the field, to target 1 spell trap card your opponent controls and destroy it. So it's basically the raw effect, except spell trap cards instead. So and it's basically like the other monster as well. So it's really nice. I think that's a cool card as well. Next up is the monster I just mentioned a moment ago. It is 1 copy of Hieratic Seal of the Dragon King. This card's a Gemini, and the Gemini effect is... actually, I might as well explain what a Gemini monster is, first of all. So, all Gemini monsters, as far as I'm aware, have this effect, have this first effect that treats them as a normal monster, basically. That being, this card is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field or in the graveyard. So, there you go, it's in the graveyard, but not in the deck. So, while it's in the deck, it's an effect monster. While this card is face up on the field, you can normal summon it to have it become an event monster with this effect. And then they all have obviously a unique effect, which is kind of pretty much unique to them. This one being, you can tribute this card, special summon 1 Hieratic monster, except another copy of this card from your hand, deck, or graveyard in face-up defense position. So obviously it tributes itself to bring out a Hieratic monster and starts your plays proper, if you will. That's pretty much what it is. Next up we have Kyberman. Yeah, we have Kyberman. You can tribute this card, special summon 1 Blood Dragon from your hand. pretty basic, but it's obviously it's pretty obvious. You know, it's a Blue-Eyes Dragon support, so you know. Next up, we have Legendary Marchu Garsat. Cannot be normal summon or set, which be special summoned from your hand by treating all monsters you control, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card's attack becomes the combined original attack of the tributed monsters, and if this card attacks defense monster, if it pairs the map damage. So that's really nice because obviously Hieratic monsters, the ones that actually have effects to be tributed and whatnot to bring out more monsters, obviously they're gonna for one, they have attack and defense, so they can be tributed and you'll get attack and defense on this guy, right? As for the normal monsters they special summon, yeah, they have 0 attack and defense, but this guy takes their original attack and defense. So if you special summon a Blue-Eyes Dragon, for example, through the effect of a Hieratic monster, the Blue-Eyes is going to have 0 attack and defense. But if you tribute that Blue-Eyes for this card's going to gain 3000 attack and 2500 defense from that one Blue-Eyes. So it's really nice that way, and obviously if you tribute the Hieratics as well, you kind of got to be careful a little bit, because if you tribute 5, only 4 of them are going to be able to come out, but you're going to get all their special summons. So you can special summon a bunch of dragons to your field and do even more plays with this card. So even though this card's pretty out of place here, I think he's pretty welcome though in the deck, if you will, for that one bit. And for an extra little added bonus, he also has piercing, so you know, it's pretty nice. And so he just doesn't have any protection. That's really the only downside to him in this kind of deck. Wow, we've got 2 cards left and we're nearly halfway through the alphabet. Wow. Next up we have Lord of D. This guy needs no introduction. He's the Lord of D. Take that as you will. As long as his card remains fit from the field. He's Lord of Tatnus, actually, to be fair, because look how tattered he is. When his card fits from the field, all dragon type monsters cannot be targeted by spell cards, trap cards, or effects of monsters that designate a target. So there you go. That's Lord of D for you. And finally, we have the White Stone of Legend. When this card is sent to the graveyard, add 1 Blue-Eyes Dragon from your deck to your hand. So again, kind of pretty obvious, if you will. Alright, next up we have the Rituals, which is a rare sight today. Well, I say relatively rare sight. I like Rituals a little bit. Anyway, first of all we have a Paladin of Photon Dragon. You can ritual summon this card with Luminous Dragon Ritual. You can tribute this card, special summon 1 Galaxy Photon Dragon from your hand or deck. When this card destroys the opponent's battle, sent to the graveyard, draw 1 card. So, you know, it's basically Paladin the White Dragon, except kind of more Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon support, if you will. I need to make a deck. I want to make a deck based on those actually. Well, I can make a deck based on those, but yeah, that's neither here nor there. And we get the only other ritual of the deck, which is a bit of a shame, but I guess it's not too much of a shame. That being Sapphire, Queen of Dragons. Her effect is you can ritual summon this card with Hymn of Light. During the end phase, if this card was ritual summoned this turn, or if a light monster was sent from the field or deck to the graveyard, like with Xyz or Tributing or anything like that, which is pretty cool that Xyz wants this card, but anyway, while this card was fit on the field, yeah, if a light monster was sent to the graveyard while this card was fit on the field. Also, I think it's any light monster, not just your own. Anyway, you can activate one of these effects. First effect, draw 2 cards and discard 1 card, so mini Graceful Charity. Second effect, discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand, so half of a Delinquent Duo, Delinquent Mono. Finally, add 1 light monster from your graveyard to your hand, so that's obviously good for bringing out more Hieratics from the graveyard, specifically effect monsters. Brings out any light monster as well, by the way, so you can bring back a Blue-Eyes Dragon to tribute to bring out onto the field or whatever. You can only use 1 of this card's effects per turn, and only once this turn. So obviously, I think it only says that because it doesn't want to say. I think it's just trying to. I think that's just trying to say like, you only get this effect once per turn, if you will. You can't activate all 3, if you will, even if you control 3 copies of this card. And you can't pick the same effect 3 times and get all 3, because even if you control 3 copies of it. So I think that's what it's trying to say. It's like a true hard once per turn. Alright, next up is the spell cards. First of all, we have Burst Stream of Destruction. If you control a Blood Dragon, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Blood Dragon cannot attack the turn you activate its effect. So, I've gone over this card before. Basically, it's a hard cannot attack this turn. But, just to elaborate a little further, you can't take control of your opponent's Blue Eyes Red Dragon either and attack with them. But you can attack with any other Blue Eyes card, it's just not them specifically. I just say that because I've just thought about that and thought maybe that would have been something, but anyway. Next up we have Enemy Controller. I wonder why this card's doing in here. Select and activate one of its effects. The first effect being change the best position of one face-up monster your opponent controls. So it can only target your opponent's monsters as well, which kind of sucks, but because like obviously like you can't like bait your opponent to attack a defense monster and then swap your monster and attack. You can't do that. Anyway, the other effect, which is kind of the more important effect in this deck, is tribute one monster. Select one face-up monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. Obviously that tributes, and obviously this deck is all about tributing, so therefore you tribute a Hieratic, take control of one of your opponent's monsters, and then you get another monster back. So it's really nice that way. Next up we have Galaxy Queen's Light. Target one face-up level 7 or higher monster you control. The levels of all other face-up monsters you currently control become the current level of that monster until the end phase. So obviously that's good for Xyz players. It doesn't matter, it's really good for like, you can bring out like an Alexandrite Dragon. Like, you could have like 3 Blue Eyes Dragons in the field or 1 Blue Eyes in the field, 3 Alexandrite Dragons in the field. Use this card to turn those 3 Alexandrite Dragons to level 8 and then fusion into Blue Eyes Ultimate and then Xyz into rank 8, for example. You know, so just because you target a monster for this, you don't have to Xyz with that specific target. You can Xyz into anything, or you can fuse it into a Blood Ultimate or whatever fits your bill or whatever. So that's why that's in there. Next up, I'll actually do these 2 cards together because I feel like they kind of are the same card. Not all the same card, but you'll see what I mean. Is Hieratic Seal of Convocation and 2 copies of Hieratic Seal of Supremacy. The first one searches a Hieratic monster from your deck to your hand. The second one special summons from your hand. So basically, that's what I mean by it's the same card. It's essentially like an old style, but pretty obvious effect, if you will. It's pretty simple, if you will, and it gets stuff started. So, you know. Next up, we have actually I'll do these 2 together as well, actually, because they're kind of the same card as well a little bit. You'll see what I mean. The first card is Hymn of Light, a ritual spell. The next one is Luminous Dragon Ritual. This is to ritual summon the 2 rituals I showed off earlier. Hymn of Light is for Saphira, the Queen of Dragons, and Luminous Dragon Ritual is for the other one, for the Photon Paladin card. Now, as for bonus effects, I'm going to read these cards up close actually. So the Hymn of Light card is generic ritual effect plus. If a ritual monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, once cast to your graveyard, you can banish this card instead. So that works for either of you 2 rituals, which is really nice. Doesn't work for any monster, which is a bit of a shame, because I was thinking maybe you could use it with Exodius to get 2 mils in or something, or 3 mil in or something, but unfortunately not. Luminous Dragon Ritual, on the other hand, unfortunately says you have to tribute monsters whose exact level is 4. So you can't tribute, a Blue Eyes Dragon to summon the Paladin, or just any sort of Hieratic. It has to be specifically level 4, or equal to 4. You tribute 2 monsters to make level 4, for example. You can banish this card, but it does have a bonus effect. That being, you can banish this card from your graveyard, banish monsters from your graveyard whose total level equals exactly 4, and special one Paladin of Photon Dragon from your hand after that. The special one is to ritual summon. So it's basically got like a backup, ritual summon effect, if you will. So it's technically got two effects. They're both the same effect, it's just different circumstances. So it's a really nice card there if you want to like, or you could bring out two Paladin of Photon ranks if you wanted to, and you know, you use the same cards and whatnot. The only downside, real downside in this kind of deck is that it banishes them rather than, you know, rather than utilising like tributes or whatever, which is a bit of a shame. Next up we have two copies of Photon Trident. So Photon Sextant. Anyway, a quick play spell. Target one face up Photon monster you control. At any end phase, it gains 700 attack, and if it attacks the defense monster, inflict piercing mass damage. Which I don't think that stacks, unfortunately. When it inflicts mass damage, the 700 damage stacks, I think, but I don't think the piercing stacks. I mean, when it inflicts mass damage to your opponent this turn, you can target one spell trap card on the field to destroy that target. I think that does stack though. So if you activate two of this, I think it will gain 1400 attack, 1 times piercing. It won't be 2 times like you might expect, and you get to destroy 2 spell trap cards on the field. Yeah, up to 2 spell trap cards on the field because it's optional as well. So you don't have to destroy your own if you don't want to, or if there's a spell trap card you want to keep on the field. You know, you don't have to destroy it. Next up, a somewhat predictable card is Pot of Avarice. Select 5 monster cards in your graveyard, then add them to your deck and shuffle it, then draw 2 cards. So, really nice card for this deck with lots of tributing and whatnot, lets you recycle Hieratics and whatnot. Especially with a deck like this that takes from the deck a lot, so it's really nice. Next up is Super Rejuvenation. This is one of my favourite cards, to be honest, favourite old cards anyway. During the end phase of the turn this card is activated, draw 1 card for each dragon type monster discarded from your hand and or offered as a tribute during this turn. So obviously in a deck that tributes a lot, it's really nice because it's going to draw you a lot of cards. Obviously you've got to be careful because it is the end of the turn, so you are going to, so if you do end up drawing into having 7 or more cards in your hand, you're going to lose a bunch, but it's pretty nice. Next up we have Swing of Memories. Special summon a normal monster from your graveyard, it's destroyed during the end phase. So again, that's kind of generic, but it's nice for bringing out a Blue-Eyes Dragon or something, and you know, Xyzing into it or with it, I mean, or whatever, something nice like that. And also it brings out like a discard fodder for something else or whatever. Next up we have the Flute of Summoning Dragon. You can only activate this card when Lord of D is face up on the field, which does mean your opponent can control Lord of D. Special summon up to 2 dragon type monsters from your hand to your side of the field. So again, you don't have to special summon 3 monsters, you can special summon just the 2, just the 1. What? I mean, you don't have to special summon 2, you can special summon 1 if you want to. I think you can special summon 2 as well, but then why would you activate it? But anyway, so yeah, that's a really nice card right there. Next up we have Trading. Limited edition Trading as well, wow, okay. Discard 1 level 8 monster to draw 2 cards. So obviously discard your Blue-Eyes Dragon, draw 2 cards, and then you can Hieratic it to the field again, or you can Swing of Memories it into the field again, or, you know, it's a really nice effect right there, you know, for good players and whatnot. And finally, the last spell card, it is Xyz Reception. Target a face-up monster you control that has a level. Special summon 1 monster with the same level as that monster from your hand. Its defense negated. Also, its second defense becomes 0, kind of like most other Hieratic monsters, except this one doesn't. This one is whatever type or whatever, as long as it's got the same level. So again, good for Xyz players and whatnot. Alright, time for the traps. First of all, we have Champion's Vigilance. If you control a level 7 or higher normal monster, like Blue Eyes, when a monster is being summoned or a spell trap card is activated, negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So, nice counter trap card in case you've got your Blue Eyes out on the field. Doesn't matter how much attack and defense they have either, just as long as it's level 7 or higher, and they're a normal monster. Next up we have Double Magic Arm Bind. A nice shininess as well. Tribute 2 monsters, like your Hieratics, then target 2 phases of monsters your opponent controls. Take control of both targets until the end phase. Until your end phase. So you can tribute 2 Hieratics. Obviously you'll get your 2 specimens, and then you'll get to keep the opponent's monsters. Obviously you can use them for defending or whatever, but then remember, because they go back during your end phase. So if you activate this during your opponent's turn, obviously that can interrupt plays and whatnot, but then come their end phase, they don't get their monsters back. It's only during your end phase when they go back to your opponent. And obviously depending on what you get, you can Xyz with them, you can Synchro, Fusion, whatever, as long as you got the cards for it in your deck, which you probably will, or you can just tribute both of them for Blue Eyes. But the point is, you will obviously have all 3, you know, I don't know what I was trying to say, but you know what I'm trying to, but you get the picture basically, don't you? So, you know. Next up is Dragon's Bind, a continuous trap card. As long as this card remains face up in the field, basically it just gives all your dragon type monsters piercing. That's basically what it does. That's literally what it says. Yeah, that's literally basically what it says. All your dragon monsters gain piercing. That's it. It's got a long-winded effect just to say all your dragons gain piercing. Next up is D-Tribe. This card basically says DNA Surgery Dragon type for a turn. Yeah, for the turn this card is activated, all your monsters become Dragon type monsters. Dragon type monsters. You don't get to choose like Fiend or Dragon or whatever. It specifically is Dragon. So you could use this where you have Lord of D on the field, and Lord of D will then protect himself from being targeted and whatnot. Which this card doesn't target, by the way, so it will work on the Lord of D. Obviously as well, it will work with stuff like Dragon's Bind as well. So with that legendary Martial Guard set I had earlier, I could use D-Tribe, turn him into a Dragon type monster, and then with Dragon's Bind he would gain piercing, but he already has piercing, so... But if he didn't have piercing, he would then gain piercing because he's now a Dragon type monster, and regardless, he will gain protection from Lord of D as well, so at least there's that. So, you know, there's at least a bonus to it, if you will, that... You know, that kind of thing. Next up we have Photon Current. When a face up a light dragon type monster you control is targeted for an attack, the attack target gains attack equal to the attacking monster's attack until the end of the damage step. So that's good for your Hieratic summoned monsters, in the sense that, like, say, because they'll obviously have to attack. So your opponent tries to attack into them, this card will give them, I mean obviously it's going to be a light monster as well, but if they try to attack into them, this card will basically say, okay, my monster attack matches yours, and most of the time that's going to mean that both monsters are destroyed by battle, and neither player takes splash damage, but you can easily just Hieratic summon your monsters again. Sure, it will require another tribute, but that's kind of the name of the game in this case. So obviously in this case, but obviously also this works with Galaxy's Photon Dragon, because I mean he's in the picture, it's kind of implied. But also it works with other light dragons as well. The only issue is it doesn't really work with legendary Martial Guard set. Also it really only works when it's your opponent attacking as well. So you kind of have to bait them into attacking, if you will, or at least, you know, something like that. I guess if you have battle attack orders, you can also kind of bait them like that as well, but, you know. Next up, we have 3 of a kind. If you control 3 or more monsters with the same name, except tokens, target 3 cards your opponent controls, destroy those targets. So obviously, as implied by the artwork, 3 or more monsters with the same name. Obviously Proto Cyber Dragon has the effect to treat itself as Cyber Dragon, so that's kind of what it means. So if you control 3 Cyber Dragons and 1 Proto Cyber Dragon, you technically control 4 Cyber Dragons, therefore 3 or more. There's also the chance that you might be able to you might be able to exchange of hearts, the opponent's lowest dragon, for example, and you have 3 of your own, so therefore you obviously have 4 Blue Eyes Dragons, but, you know. And then our final trap card, which is kind of similar to the 3 of a kind, is Treaty of Uniform Nomenclature. This card, if you control 2 or more face-up monsters with the same name, except tokens, apply this effect depending on how many you control. Exactly 2, destroy 1 spell trap card your opponent controls, or exactly 3, destroy all spell / trap cards your opponent controls. So basically, either MST or Quick Play Harpy's Feather Duster, but it only works with exactly 2 or exactly 3 respectively. 3 of a kind, on the other hand, just requires you to have 3 or more. So it's kind of a pick your poison a little bit, because 3 of a kind requires you to have 3 or more, but destroys only 3. I think it only destroys spell trap cards as well, doesn't it? No, it works on anything your opponent controls. So that card can destroy your opponent's monsters, but this can only destroy spell trap cards. Alright, time for the extra deck, and yes, there is actually quite the extra deck in this one. This is probably one of my favourite decks because of how the extra deck is. Although, again, I might have to revamp this actually, but, you know, I guess we'll see. The first card is Amulet Dragon. Yeah, this deck I did want to get Dark Magician for. I don't have a copy in it yet, and that's simply because I haven't put it in yet. Although I guess I could get King of the Swamp or something for Dark Magician and just polymerization in this card, because fortunately this card, even though it's an Eye of Timaeus card, you can just use King of the Swamp in place of Dark Magician. Anyway, the fusion materials are Dark Magician plus a Dragon-type monster, which obviously there's a bunch of Dragon-type monsters in this deck. And I'm going to read the text myself because I can't keep it on camera. Must be fusion summoned with the above materials. Oh, okay, never mind. You can't use King of the Swamp then. Or with the Eye of Timaeus. It cannot be special summoned with my other cards. Okay, so I might have to take this card out then because of that. If this card is special summoned, target any number of spell cards in any graveyard, minimum 1. Banish those targets, and if you do, this card gains 1,000 attack for each card banished this way. The balance effect. If this card is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 spellcast monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. So it kind of replaces itself with Dark Magician, if you will. Well, any spellcaster, but obviously the idea is Dark Magician. Next up, we have Blue Eyes Alternative Ultimate Dragon. This card requires 3 Blue Eyes Dragons, not the alternate one, but the actual one. Your opponent cannot target or destroy this card with card effects, so Lord of D won't serve any purpose in this card. Once per turn, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. If this card was fusion summoned using a monster whose original name is Blood Alternative White Dragon, as material, you can target up to 3 cards your opponent controls instead. This card cannot attempt to turn you out of its effect. So it's basically saying you can just target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. If you use Blood Alternative White Dragon to summon this card, or add any one of the materials, you can target up to 3 cards instead. But either way, when you activate this effect, you can't attack with this card. But fortunately, you can defuse and then fusion again, and then get either activate the effect again and destroy again, or you can just attack with it. So, you know, again, kind of a pick your poison, but you know. Next up, we have Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. This card requires 2 copies of Burst Dragon and has the exact same attack and defense of Burst Dragon, but it's level 10. So it's kind of like Blue Eyes Shiny Dragon in a way. Must either be fusion summoned or special summoned by sending the above monsters you control to the graveyard, in which case you do not use polymerization. And cannot be special summoned by other ways. Can I destroy by battle? This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. At the end of the damage step, when this card attacks an opponent's monster, but the opponent's monster was not destroyed by this battle, you can banish that opponent's monster. Yeah, you can banish that opponent's monster. So I imagine it'll be face up. So obviously you can banish. You can attack into a bigger monster, like a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and just banish it. You still take damage, but you won't get destroyed in battle. And you can do that twice, or you can banish a Marshmallow, something that can't be destroyed in battle. Next up, we have a gold rare Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon with 3,000 defense instead of 3,800 defense, which is a little odd to be fair, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. I guess this is the precursor to why other Blood Honor Dragon-esque cards have only 3,000 defense as opposed to 3,800. Even though it should be 3,750 technically, because that's half the defense of 3 Blood Red Dragons. But yeah, this is 3 Blood Ultimates. No, I mean 3 Blood Ultimates. This is 3 Blood White Dragons as one, that's basically it. Alright, Dark Paladin is the next card, and this card makes me believe that I had plans for this deck to use my Dark Paladin strategy, if you will, of sort. Well, my Legendary Dragon strategy, if you will, which I'll go into that one day, but for now I probably won't. I don't know if I've went into it before, but if not, I'll go into it one day. This guy requires Dark Magician plus Luster Blader, and actually now that I think about it, this card is pretty good in this deck anyway on its own. So, anyway, the effect is, must be fisherman that can only be special by other ways, so okay good, you can just use Buster Blader and King of the Swamp. Although ironically Buster Blader might not be the best target, so I don't know, maybe I will just get King of the Swamp for this guy and then Dark Magician anyway, because I need Dark Magician for the other one. During either player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can discard one card and get the activation, and if you do, destroy it. This card must be faced on the field to activate the result of that. But then the important effect, the really nice effect of this kind of deck, this card gains 500 attack for each Dragon type monster on the field and in either player's graveyards. Therefore, in this Hieratic deck, obviously you're going to get a lot of attack points, and I'll make sure to count up all the dragons as well to say how many attack points you're going to give Dark Paladin at most, as well to, in this deck anyway, because I'm sure that's going to be nice. And wow, we're already 40 minutes in. We've not got too long left, although I'm kind of noticing I'm going a bit slow, but hopefully I can speed up a little bit and then do my little talk and then end off. Next up we've got Gold Rare 5-Headed Dragon. This guy does not have a weakened defense despite being golden rare. That's just applies to the Blood's Ultimate, because Blood's Ultimate is a little weird. I don't even need to read this card, what are you about? Pretty much know this card, this card's easy. So this guy requires 5 Dragon type monsters. That's it, just 5 Dragon type monsters. Unfortunately it's not the odd effect, because the odd effect said... The odd effect didn't say 5 Dragon type monsters and then gave the effect. The odd effect says this card's fusion materials is 5 Dragon type monsters. So it actually had it as part of the effect, if you will. So the effect is, must be fusion summoned and can only be special by other ways. Cannot be destroyed in battle except with a divine monster or a light monster. Which basically should probably be what it says, but instead it goes a long way around and says cannot be destroyed by the other 5 attributes. Which I mean, technically I guess it can be destroyed by the Laugh attribute, if you will. Or the Clear Archetype as well, in a way. You're like Clear Fire Dragon, because technically they don't have attributes. So, you know, I mean, obviously they do have attributes, but it's a bit weird, but anyway. Next up, we have Red Eyes Dragon Sword. So maybe we can go over my strategy after all then. Maybe, I don't know if we can. We can, okay, we can. Well, I'll go over it afterwards. So this card's effect is, must be special with the Claw of Hermos, using a Dragon type monster. It cannot be special by other ways. If this card is special summoned, target one other face-up monster on the field. Equip this card to it. It gains 1,000 attack and it gains 500 attack and defense for each Dragon type monster on the field or in the graveyards. So it's basically like the Dark Paladin effect, except it also does defense as well, which is really nice, but I'll get into that in a few moments. Next up, our next fusion is quite the oddball one, and you'll know why it's an oddball one if you've seen the animes. Is Twin Photon Lizard. It requires any 2 photon monsters, not 2 of the same photon monsters, just any 2 photon monsters. And the effect is, you can trim this card, a special summon from your graveyard, both of the fusion material monsters used for the fusion summon this card. So it's not that great. If anything, I guess you could say like just polymerization 2 Galaxy Eyes in your hand, Galaxy Eyes Friend Dragons in your hand, fusion summon him, and then just tribute him for both Galaxy Eyes Friend Dragons, and then that's just 2400 attack to to 2-3 fast attacks. Finally, the final fusion, which isn't really a fusion, but it's a fusion anyway, is Tyrant Burst Dragon. This card effect is must be summoned with the Fang of Critias, using the Tyrant Wing. Can be special by for ways. This card can attack all monster opponent controls once each. You can send one face monster. You can target one face monster you control and cut this monster to that target. It gains 4 attack and defense. Also, it can make 3 attacks during each battle phase. So that's a really nice effect. Right there, it's gives you extra attacks and extra attack. So it's really nice. You can even equip it onto your Blood's Ultimate Dragon for 3 actual attacks and up 4 to 900 attack as well. So that's really nice. Alright, next up, this is probably predictable, is Xyz Silver Dragon. So obviously you can Synchro Summon this guy with White Sun Legend and Blood's Dragon, and then retrieve another Blood's Dragon from your hand, from your deck, and then also this card's effect from the graveyard, but that's kind of jumping a little bit, jumping the gun a little bit. It requires 1 tuner, any 1 tuner, plus 1 of my non-tuner normal monsters, so like Blood's Dragon, whatever. So when this card is specimened, Dragon type monsters you currently control can only be targeted or destroyed by card effects until the end of the next turn. So obviously if you summon more, that means you can't. That means they can be targeted and such. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can target 1 non-monster in your graveyard, so let's summon that target. So obviously you get back the Blood Dragon and you use the Sync material, or whatever normal dragon. I think any normal dragon? Yeah, any normal monster. So you could use level 2 tuner and Dark Magician if you wanted to. It's kind of funny a little bit if you think about it. Next up is Dark Strike Fighter, which I think this is the old version as well. No, wait, no, it's a new version. This is the new version of Dark Strike Fighter, I think, if I'm understanding correctly. So, generic materials, level 7. Xyz is level 9, by the way. During your main phase 1, you can treat 1 monster. If they damage your opponent, you can treat the monster's level on the field times 200. You're going to use the effect of Dark Strike Fighter once per turn. So yeah, this is the new version of Dark Strike Fighter. Because I remember this card being like really overpowered. Where it would say like you contribute all your monsters, including itself, and you just deal that much damage, if you will. But you know, it's a new version. But on the bright side, it does take the current level of your monster on the field. So if you have like a level 5 Hieratic, and you somehow increase its level to level 8, it will deal 1600 damage as opposed to 1000. So that's really nice. So at least that does that, and it tributes as well. So obviously you can tribute you know, Hieratic, and then Hieratic summon something. Alright, last Synchro Monster, and this is kind of one of my favourites to be honest, is Trident Dragian. Yeah, it's actually called Dragian and not Dragon, and it's a nice rarity as well. It's nice shine to it, so pretty cool. I'll try and shut it off a little bit. My camera's not the best, but the stars are shiny, so there's at least that. Level 10, and it requires all Dragon type monsters material, so obviously very simple for this deck. This monster cannot be special summoned except by Synchro Summon. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can destroy up to 2 cards you control. So not tribute, you actually destroy them. If you do, for each card destroyed by this effect, this card gains 1 additional attack this turn. So it does kind of suck, because you have to destroy cards you control in order to, you know, gain an additional attack. You only gain 1 additional attack per card you destroy. It doesn't tribute, so you can't obviously tribute your Hieratics and whatever and get their effects or whatever. And it's only for this turn. It's not, you know, it's only for that 1 turn. It's not while it's in the field or anything. And for a card that says you have to Synchro Summon it, you'd expect the additional attacks to stay. You know, so it's really a pity. You know, I hope this guy gets like a retrain or something, or at least I don't like Hieratics, but I would like this guy to get like an errata if anything, at least an errata if not a retrain or something, and you know, that'd be really nice. Because I think this is one of the first ones I got as well. And I wasn't really into dragons back when Synchros were first making a thing, Obviously Stardust Dragon kind of helped out with that a little bit, you know, get me into dragons and such, but I'm still more of a warrior person myself, to be honest. Alright, time for Xyz's. First up we have Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon. A rank 8 requiring 3 level 8s. You can also Xyz summon this card using the Galaxy Eyes Xyz Monsters you control as material, except another copy of this card. Materials attached to that monster also are transferred to this card. Once per turn, you can target up to 2 equipped spell cards, equipped to this card, attached into this card as material. Once per turn, you can attach 1 material from this card, then target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it. So it's basically like raw but better in a way, if you will. I say that a lot, but I mean it's well, I should say it's like raw's effect, you know, destructive effect, but better. Alright, so next up we have Hieratic Sun Dragon, Overlord of Heliopolis. This guy is limited edition and is probably the true boss monster of the deck, if you will, or at least, you know, a good one anyway. This guy's effect is he requires 2 level 8 monsters. He has blue eye stats, basically. It's 24 in defense, but it's basically blue eye stats. Once per turn, you can attach 1 material from this card, tribute any number of monsters from your hand or yours have the field, minimum 1, and destroy an equal number of cards on the field. So this guy still plays into the tributing effect. It's a pity that it wasn't like a case of like tribute 1 material from this card, and then you contribute any number of monsters in your hand or field, and then destroy up to the number of tributes, counting the detached material as a tribute, if you will. It's a pity you can't do that, especially since Xyz summons aren't really tributing monsters to summon them, or I mean neither are fusions, or well, except for Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon, but you know it's but he requires specifically Blue Eyes Dragon, so you know, which is a bit of a shame. Anyway, next up we have a limited edition Kachikoshi Dragon. 2 level 4. Obviously again, I think I mentioned this last time, but obviously again, the fact that this card's limited edition but is in the deck still is because it's in the sleeve. You know, I'd always protect the actual dead monsters because I always thought those to be a bit more valuable, if you will. 2 level 4s. Once per turn, when this card destroys opponent's monster from battle and sends to the graveyard, you can detach material from this card. It can attack again once in a row. Yeah, it's once per turn, so you can't detach both materials and attack 3 times in a row. And you have to destroy a monster the first time, but the second time you don't have to destroy a monster, but I think you have to attack them straight away, if you will. So there is that, but you know. And finally, the final Xyz monster of the deck and the final card of the deck is Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, with the same stats as Blue's Ultimate Dragon, except the gold rare Blue's Ultimate Dragon I showed you earlier. Requires 3 level 8s. When this card is Xyz summoned using Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon as material, negate the effects of all of our face-up cards currently on the field, including your own, but he protects himself from it, so. Once per turn, you can attach 1 material from this card, detach all materials from monsters your opponent controls. Then, this card gains 500 attack for each material detached, except for the one attached from this card. And it can make attacks up to that many times during each battle phase this turn. So that's how you do an attack multiple effect, and it's quite good, I think, because not many people are going to be still using Xyz, but also you can obviously. I think it does say I think it does imply as well though that you have to do. Yeah, so if you detach no materials through this card's effect, that way it does obviously. I think you wouldn't gain any attack, and I don't think you'd be able to attack that turn, ironically, with Neo Galaxy Eyes for a ton. But obviously, you know, I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. But it's really nice because obviously, you gain 500 attack permanently, and then just for that one turn only, can that Trident Dragon but it's much better because if you detach 5 materials, you just get 2500 attack and 5 attacks that turn. So 2500 attack, which you get to keep, and then that turn you can attack 5 times. Even if you detach 5 materials from the same monster, you still get 5 attacks. So if your opponent controls only the one monster that has 5 materials, you still get to attack 5 times. You can destroy the monster and then just attack 4 times with a good 7,000 attack points, which is, nice. It's very nice. And it's Alright, now I don't have too much time because it's almost an hour long, so hopefully I can kind of speedrun this idea that I want to share, but I don't blame you for watching this video in parts because, it's a pretty long video and I don't imagine I'm the most entertaining person ever, but, so let me get these fusions then, that I need. So, as you can see, as I put on the screen, I put the fusion on the screen again just to show you what I basically mean by this, so you know what I'm using. So these 3 monsters, this is the legendary dragon strategy, if you will, from me. Basically, you have to summon these 3 monsters, all 3 of which can be summoned by a different legendary dragon. I think all of them can only be activated once per turn, so therefore you can only use them once per turn. But unfortunately, you can only summon 3 monsters out per turn with the legendary dragons. But fortunately, all 3 can be summoned out in one turn. You can activate only 1 itemize per turn, but you can also activate 1 Claw of Hermes and 1 whatever the other one was. So you summon out these 3, right? You have to summon out Dark Paladin before Red Eyes, right? Red Eyes Dragon Sword, because Red Eyes Dragon Sword would automatically equip itself onto a monster, and if it does not equip itself, it does not equip itself whatsoever. Obviously it can't equip itself onto itself, so obviously if there's no other monsters, it just does not equip. So you've got to summon out Dark Paladin before Red Eyes Dragon Sword, right? And that way, but it doesn't matter when you summon Tyrant Burst Dragon, because he can equip himself whenever you want him to. So the idea is you summon out these 3 in any order you desire other than Dark Paladin before Red Eyes, and obviously all 3 of them have quite the boost, right? So Dark Paladin, his effect is that he gains 500 attack for each dragon type monster on the field and in the graveyard. Now unfortunately these 2 do not count as dragons on the field when you equip them because they're quit spell cards, but I don't think that matters too much because that's only 2 monsters you're losing, whereas you're probably going to have plenty in the deck. And obviously I put up on screen how much this would go up as well, by the way. I'd also mention that because, So Dark Paladin himself, through his own effect, says gains 500 attack for each dragon on the field and in the graveyard, right? Whereas for Dragon Sword, on the other hand, or not on the other hand, but his effect is automatic 1000 boost, right, to attack, and 500 attack and defense for every dragon on the field and in the graveyard. So with both effects combined, that's 1000 attack, just flat out. That's 1000 attack and 500 defense for every dragon on the field and in the graveyard, right? So 1000 attack and 500 defense, yeah. So and that's his effect, right? That's Red Eyes Black Dragon's effect combined into the effect, right? Finally, Tyrant Burst Dragon's effect. His effect is the monster automatically just gains 400 attack and defense, flat out. So flat out, that's 1400 attack, 400 defense, right? And they can make 3 attacks during the battle phase. That's 3 attacks, not 3 attacks on monsters, just 3 attacks. So if your opponent, if there's only 1 monster in the field, you get to destroy that monster and then you get to attack 2 more times, right? So overall, that's 1400 attack and 400 defense flat out, plus 1000 attack for every 1000 attack and 500 defense for every dragon on the field and in the graveyard. Regardless of who controls it and regardless of whose graveyard it is. So obviously I put up the stats now as well just to show off how many dragons I have in this deck, to say this is how much attack that my monster that the Dark Paladin would gain, if you will, or how many dragons and such, if you will, to kind of give an idea of how this effect would go over, if you will. I've tried my best to give as many stats as possible and such, and so yeah, that's the legendary dragon strat, if you will, that I've sort of come up with. It's not, obviously it's not like the best protected effect or anything. I'm not counting like hand traps or anything, but I don't typically look into that stuff because I don't keep up with it, like I said. But I figured it's quite the effect. It's quite the summon, if you will. I don't know if I'd give this a name. Like, I don't know if I'd give Dark Paladin a name. You know, like, you know, legendary Dark Paladin or something. But it's something. You know, maybe I'll come up with something of a name and then for the Dark Paladin effect. But who knows? You know, maybe you could come up with a name. That'd be pretty cool. As the viewer, you know, that'd be pretty nice. But yeah, that's a really nice strategy. I like. You know, and if you will, so yeah, that's something. So yeah, I've kept you for way too long, I think, today, and so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's not intimidated you anything for being a long video. Yeah, it's going to be my longest video yet, as of not including the LP movies and stuff. Alright, well, on that note, but by the way, here's the side deck, by the way. There's actually no side deck. So yeah, alright, for real guys, thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you watched to the end, and I hope you have a really minky day.